Hey, what's going on? This is the Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. It is Sunday, November 12th, 2023, NJ and LDN. My man, MIB in Belo. The Leafs coming off a pair of wins over Calgary and Vancouver, respectively. A shootout victory on Friday night. And you know what? For a Saturday night affair with all of the Remembrance Day stuff tied into it, beating the Vancouver Canucks. It was a pretty damn nice night at Scotiabank Arena and a nice way to kind of say goodbye to the local fans as the Leafs get ready for that big global series trip to Sweden over the next, 9 days or so. Good morning, Mr. Augello. How are you?
Good morning, Norm. Okay. End result, 2 victories going into the global series in Sweden. It was necessary, but the 5-game homestand, there were a lot of warning signs of impending doom, and I think they need to be illustrated because, the game against Tampa, they fall behind. They come back from 4-1 down, win in overtime. That's great. But, you want a team that doesn't fall behind like that doesn't fall asleep at the wheel, that doesn't start Ilya Samsonov against a team that he gave up 3 goals on 4 shots. Ottawa, they're tied 3-3 in the third period, and it's a complete and utter brain cramp. They seize up and they give up 3 goals in the third period, defensively inept in that period, and they lose 6-3. Calgary, they're up 4-1. They're playing a really good game, and then all of a sudden, tick, tick, 2 goals in the second period, tie in the third, and then they play good in the third period, play good in overtime, and Joseph Woll plays well in the shootout, and they get the victory. Vancouver was the most complete of the five games, but the thing is, if you saw the statistics, Vancouver's like 1-13 in Toronto in their last 14 games. So for some reason, they have issues playing against Scotiabank Arena, which is weird because that's usually what happens in the opposite direction with the Leafs and teams like Buffalo. But they capped off the homestand on a good note, but there are signs of things that are very concerning.
The signs were there from the very beginning, Mike. This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. I have all kinds of Leafs specials. Go to oakridgeford.com. If you want a full electric, we have Mach-E for a really manageable price per month. F-150, we have Escape, Bronco Sport, all kinds of stuff. I am your guy. If you are ingrained in this culture that we have as the Leafs Convo, and you've been watching us and you know us and you're looking for a vehicle, if you're partial to Ford or you'd like to explore it, it makes no sense for you to go to your local dealership. Especially if you're in Ontario, I can help you. I've helped OGs and converts in the past. I can make sure you get a great deal and you have the red carpet rolled out for you. Don't make a mistake by going to somebody else. They don't care. All they want is your money. I want to make sure you're taken care of. oakridgeford.com. Thank you so much, guys, for frequenting the podcast and clicking on the links that lead to hockeybuzz.com and oakridgeford.com and my Instagram page at @NormanOakridgeFord. We really, really, really do appreciate all of the support that you give us. Look, we don't take it for granted. There was a comment here. Michael Matthew, an absolute OG. Mike, thanks for being here. My God, it's early, and it happens every year when 6 or more players join the team. Come on, Mike. Come on, Mike. Mike, you told me that we were going to get started on the right foot, getting excited about what we saw against Vancouver, leading into what's happening with the Sweden series coming up. And then you go all the way back and start with the negative stuff. I don't blame you, Mike, but the OGs and the converts want more positivity.
Well, then go someplace else because you're not gonna get that from me. You're gonna get reality. You're gonna get the truth. Because I mean, I'm telling you, and I agree. There was a great game last night. And what was the difference? The difference was you had a fourth line that wasn't a complete liability.
Right.
That you inserted Bobby McMahon, who's actually still an NHL player, unlike Ryan Reeves, who I don't think can play anymore.
Right.
They scored a couple goals. McMahon had a couple assists. You had a team that stuck up for each other. Unfortunately, the referees, when somebody lays somebody out, they're automatically going to give them 2, 5, and a 10. And the Leafs have to have the penalty killing to be able to shut that team down, and they don't. Right now, their penalty killing is one of the worst in the league. But I, appreciate what Max Domi did and what Mark Giordano did, stepping up for their teammates. And I think that's a good thing. Team toughness, I think, is better than one player being the sheriff. And again, like I was exchanging messages with somebody who says, well, this stuff wouldn't happen if Reeves was out there. I says, Reeves couldn't catch up to these guys. So how the hell is that going to make any difference?
And Mike, Reeves had his opportunity to endear himself not only to the fan base, because we have a tendency to gravitate to the shiny new object, even if it really isn't, doing anything of substance. But he had a chance to, be there and actually contribute while he was on the ice for that small period of time during games, and did fuck all. So forget about that guy. Maybe he kind of hangs around and gets a new sense of what he's going to have to do if he's going to lend anything positive to this team. But in the meantime, they made some changes and they took on a really tough team. They came together. Guys like Max Domi putting up points. Guys like Tyler Bertuzzi coming around. What can you say about William Nylander? I mean, Jesus Murphy, like 15-game point streak. It's a Leaf record. Amazing stuff. And while Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner go a collective 0 over the past 2 games, Nylander's leading the way, and he's got a bunch of kind of support guys helping out too. It's again, we're living in the moment, and we get negative about the team, but we're positive when it warrants it. And as of right now, coming off that win, a really, really nice feeling going into this global series, and the Leafs kind of spreading their wings and strutting their their, I guess, brand might overseas in a place like Sweden, where they do have ties to the country, going back to Borje Salming and Mats Sundin, and of course William Nylander and these guys. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch, Mike. We're trying to keep it positive for November 12th, 2023, Mike.
I'll give you some positive stuff because, like I said, the call up of McMahon playing on the fourth line, I think, makes the fourth line something that's not a liability. So you can put out, a decent fourth line with Gregor, who has speed, right, with Camp, who's a defensive guy who can win faceoffs, right, and with McMahon, who's physical and not slow. So I think that's good. The move of Domi from wing to center has made a whole bit of difference. They have a top 9 with that second line of Yarncroke, Domi, and Robertson. Robertson since being called up has been fantastic.
What do you attribute that to? Why do you think this time he looks different in a real meaningful way? What is this about?
I think this is about him sort of being. Not to say he wasn't motivated before, but he's heard the critics. Me being one of them, and it's like, and I really like Nick Robertson, and I like the talent that he has. My issue with him right now is his inability to stay healthy, and the problem sort of reared its ugly head yesterday.
Right.
My issue with him, and it's an innate thing. Like Mitch Marner can avoid contact. Mitch Marner has that innate sense to avoid contact. He's not a big player. He's not an overly fast player, but he's got that sense to avoid contact. What happened yesterday? Robertson got laid out by a Vancouver defenseman, and Max Domi had to jump the guy and came to his defense. But the whole point here is he got laid out, and he's not a big player, and he doesn't seem to have that radar to avoid those big hits. And he's not, if he gets in better shape or whatever it is, and then he can absorb that stuff, that's great. But I think what he has to do to be successful in this league, because you see the talent, he can score. He's got an NHL shot. He's got great speed. I think he could be a top 6 guy if he can stay healthy. But the problem is, if he doesn't develop that innate sense, he's going to get hurt again. And I hope that doesn't happen, because I like the kid and I like his talent, but that's the concern with him. I can't hear you, Norm. Okay, we've lost Norm here. Not sure what's going on here, but If anybody can hear me in the chat, just send a message in the comments here. Until Norm gets back, I'll take some questions here. I just see Arnav in the chat saying that the Oilers have just fired Woodcroft. That's bizarre because they won yesterday. They beat Seattle, but they fire their coach at that point. The talk is, I mean, we heard something on. We heard something a couple days ago that Bruce Boudreau was in Edmonton, and that would be a very interesting hire because Boudreau has come in different. Maybe Norm's rebooting here, so we're gonna we'll see if he comes back. But Boudreau would be a good fit because he's come into teams before in the middle of the season. He's a really excellent. There you go, Norm.
Are we? What the hell just happened?
I don't know. I carried on. I was talking to some people in the chat. Your computer must have froze, but I was just talking about Jay Woodcroft getting fired in Edmonton. He just got fired. So.
Oh, he did, eh?
Yeah. So
you heard him with the media last night, eh? He was. You could tell he had a feeling something was up, and that the writing was on the wall. The end was nigh, and. Something had to happen there.
Well, so. the weird thing is they won yesterday.
Yeah, but again, it just goes to show that it's a big picture, right? Just because you won, and that's the thing with the Maple Leafs. Just because they won doesn't mean that a victory has cured what ailed them. And right. This should be what happened in Edmonton should be a cautionary tale for somebody like Sheldon Keefe and for the organization. In full, that it can go south. It really can. You can't just keep relying on the top four guys to somehow grind you through and just somehow make ends meet. It's just not the way that you should be operating at this juncture of this group's evolution, right? So watching other teams, especially the teams that would be like contemporaries, like Edmonton to Toronto, it could have been the Leafs, and it still can be if you don't. I guess proverbially mind your net properly, if you know what I'm saying.
Can you put up Jason Sparks' comment in the chat? Because I just want to...
Whereabouts is it? Corey Perry?
Corey Perry, exactly. He said
Jason Sparks.
Yeah, Corey Perry is slow and made up the fourth line in Tampa. The Leafs need to play better, and Reeves will be fine. Okay. With Reeves in the lineup, they're not playing fine. When he is a boat anchor on that fourth line. He was -2 against Calgary.
Right.
It's one thing, if you spot him and you can survive it. I mean, Corey Perry is slow, but Corey Perry is smart. Corey Perry can still score goals.
Are we comparing Corey Perry to Ryan
Yeah,
Reeves?
I mean, that's the thing.
For God's
Corey
sake.
Perry is a Hart Trophy winner and a Stanley Cup winner, and Ryan Reeves is an enforcer. I mean, don't get me wrong. I signed up for Ryan Reeves being a fourth line guy if he could still play. But he can't he can't play anymore. He's a liability. So, they may spot him against teams like Boston. And if he play, the next time they play Boston, which is December the 2nd, if he doesn't go out and try to talk to Brad Marchand, I would waive him the next day. He's not doing his job.
Right. OG's conference, sorry about the technical difficulties. It is what it is. ZM93 Zach. What would the Leafs have to give up to get Nikita Zadorov, who wants out of Calgary? And Mike, you had mentioned that he might be a deadline project, perhaps a project, perhaps an acquisition in the offseason. But the guy wants out now. The Leafs need help on defense.
Right.
We're not talking about moving 88 or any of that kind of shit. We're just talking about a potential transaction that would work out for Calgary and then benefit the Leafs in the now, and get a guy like Nikita Zadorov back under the Brad Treliving wing, out of Calgary into Toronto, where he's probably going to be put to better use. How does it all come together if possible?
Well, I mean, it's funny that it came out the day of and the day after, or the night after the Leafs played Calgary. So Daniel Milstein, his agent, picked the absolute right time to get the most attention. Maybe that trade request happened a couple days before. We know that Zadorov has been somebody who has not been quiet about the way the team is in Calgary is playing. I think, they're in a situation now where they're going to retool because they lost to the Leafs. They lost to Ottawa. I think their record is just as bad as Edmonton. They have 4 unrestricted free agents in Elias Lindholm, Hanifin, Tanev, and Zadorov. So they're going to be probably trading those guys, but it might not be now. What Elliot Friedman said yesterday about them saying, let's cool the jets here. We're going to trade him when we want to trade him, not when, his agent comes out and says, well, he needs to be traded. They'll trade him when they get the best offer. Now, the thing is, I think the Leafs are definitely interested. Friedman said that the Leafs are interested, and so does Vancouver. Chris Johnston said that reported that Zadorov wants to play for the Leafs. Problem is, he makes $3.75 million. He's a left-hand shot, and they're loaded with left-hand shots and no righties. And they need – now, I don't know if he can play the right side, and I think he's a guy that if they don't trade for him, he signs with them during the summer. So do you want to give up significant assets to get Nikita Zadorov? I don't know where this team goes in terms of trading players. Like, is Calgary going to want John Klingberg? No, of course not. So how do you make this happen? So
who would they want? Like a Nick Robertson?
They'd probably want a young prospect, like a Topi Niemela. And that's the thing. You're going to give up Topi Niemela or Fraser Minton or Easton Cowan.
Right.
I mean, I don't sign up for that. I mean, but Treliving has marching orders to make this team better now. But how do you do it?
Right.
I don't know.
So here's a question. OG's converts, feel free to weigh in. The Leafs acquired Nikita Zadorov. Are they all of a sudden out of our shit books and into a place where they should be considered amongst Stanley Cup contenders? One move? Is that what it was take? And Mike, you talk about expending resources within the organization, prospects, draft picks, guys who you foresee contributing well for the organization. Do you part with what you're expecting to be great with somebody right now in order to get immediate dividends paid for you? Do we believe a move for a player like Nikita Zadorov makes this team that much better and puts it back in the conversation among the top 8 to 5 teams in the league that we're all expecting to be there when push comes to shove?
Well, I mean, look what he did. Look what he did against the Leafs in that game. He laid, I think it was David Kampf. He laid out David Kampf. He wasted him at center ice, which is something the Leafs don't have much of. I mean, Reeves is not a checker. He's a fighter. They have a few guys that will hit, but he makes players look and keep their head up crossing center ice. So he did that, and he scored a goal. Now, he scored 14 goals last year, but that was sort of out of the he's not a big offensive guy. He's got a big, heavy shot, but he's not a big offensive guy. If you're talking about trading, say, Connor Timmins, who's young and who's got some potential, his health has just been the issue, and a draft pick, and then they retain salary, that's something that I think the Leafs would do, and something that I think that they would sign up for, and I would sign up for. But if
would Calgary sign up for that, especially if they'd made it known that they are going to do business with Zadorov at the center of it on their terms?
It depends on whether they if you're talking about trading Timothy Liljegren, who's 24 years old, for a 28-year-old Zadorov who, I think he's a really good 5 or maybe a okay number 4, but he's not a top pairing defenseman. And if you're going to give up a guy you drafted in the first round who's good, who's right-handed in Liljegren, or a Timmins who you got basically off the scrap heap from Arizona. I mean, I would sign up on Timmins because Timmins has been in and out of the lineup, and they can, would they trade Jake McCabe? Jake McCabe was not somebody that Brad Treliving signed up, and he's under contract for another year. It depends on what Calgary is looking for in terms. Are they looking to reset? Are they looking to retool? If it's retooled, they want somebody who's going to be with them for the next year or two. So maybe that's something that. But I don't know. I think this team needs the physicality that a guy like Zadorov has. But don't fool yourself. He's not a top pairing guy. He's a good maybe 4 or 5 defensemen, and you should pay the price that is, requisite to a 4 or 5 defenseman.
Michael, Matthew, Norm, we're in the top 8 right now. What the fuck? Mike, when did you become such a fanboy? You know this team isn't good enough to win a Stanley Cup right now. Come on, shame on you. Let's hang in there. Things will get better, we hope.
Yeah.
Handshake, line, respect. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say about being in the top 8. I mean, I can't remember what the exact stat is, but if you're at American Thanksgiving, if you're in a playoff spot, I think it's like 80-85%. So you want to be there, obviously. And
but that's not the goal any longer. Like there's no way you can say that this team is going to go 4 rounds deep the way it's comprised, the way it's put together, the way it's playing. Again, it was a great game against Vancouver, but look at everything that's preceded that. Come on now, handshake, line, respect. Mike has the Dubas ideology. Last night was not sustainable. It's open season for our players when Reeves isn't there. Plus, his plus minus is not all on him. Keefe puts them out for terrible matchups. So handshake, line, respect also said that Nylander's better than Marner. So we're back to putting players against each other who should be working together. Forget about the Nylander-Marner thing. If you don't like Marner, too fucking bad. We need the whole, listen, Mike, hold on, let me finish. We need the whole mosaic of players to do well. This team is not just about 88. It's not just about Austin Matthews. It's not just about any one player. It's about the collective. They need more help. Forget about one guy over the other. Nylander's running at peak right now. He's the best Leaf on the ice. You granted that. Forget about weighing him out against Mitch Marner just because you don't like the guy. He's annoying as hell, but he's a great hockey player. And you need all these guys that come together to do great things. And collectively, this group hasn't done anything great. Going back to Reeves, though, Mike, I understand what they're talking about. And I do like the idea of a player who lays others out, beats the shit out of them. I like that. But Ryan Reeves hasn't done that.
No, but
and also, he hasn't done what he was supposed to do.
And also, he needs to be able to not be a liability and play. I mean, the comment that was made about me being like a Dubas, having the Dubas ideology, and Keith puts him out in terrible matchups. He puts him on in offensive zones because he can't put him out in a defensive zone because it's going to end up in the back of the net. He had to put David Kampf, their best defensive player, on Reeves's line because he was such a liability, and he's still minus 10. So don't give me this crap that he's not a liability. And you know what? I'm saying if he's a physical force and he keeps everybody's head on a swivel, then he's doing his job.
Right.
Give me one instance, handshake, line, respect, when he has done that this year. He hasn't. So don't give me this.
Why can't he? Why can't? So is it that is he being held back, obstructed by the coaching staff? Is he just not on the ice when he needs to be, and it's really not his fault? Well, he was brought in to do something that requires physical force and being there to back up a bunch of guys who don't like to be physical and need that kind of physical approach and support. Why hasn't he done that, Mike? Are you saying he's just incapable of it? So it makes no sense that he fills that role.
I think a few years ago he was a difference maker in terms of being a role player and being somebody who could play 10 or 11 minutes. But obviously he has slowed down. He can't catch anybody. He's in the defensive zone. He's a liability. And I mean, if he could do the job that he did a couple of years ago, then I think he'd be effective. And they need that play. Mm-hmm. They need a physical player who plays in the top 9, not a fourth line Colton Orr, Fraser McLaren, Ryan Reeves who plays 4 minutes a night. That game is over with. I loved it when we had enforcers and we had players who would keep players accountable. That Zadorov is somebody as a defenseman who plays 17 or 18 minutes a night and is a big physical guy. I think he's 6'7". He's a monster. So that's his game. That's his physicality. You need why do you think Tom Wilson is such a terror? Because he plays second line for Washington. You need guys who can play big minutes. I don't know if Tyler Bertuzzi can do that. I don't think they want him to fight. Right. He broke his hand twice 2 years ago, but they need physicality in the top 9, not on the bottom line.
But Mike, no one expected Ryan Reeves to be that guy. So what did we want from him, and what hasn't he delivered? You know who the enforcer on this team is this year? Max Domi,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he plays in the top 9 points in 15 games, coming around 33 penalty minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But for him, he may not have the full capability of what we're looking for, but the heart is there. And if he can play like with this kind of heart and not be a dummy and not lose his head and contribute offensively, pick up 50, 60 points,
Right.
damn, I'll take that guy. I wish he had another foot to him and another 30, 40 pounds, but he's got the heart of a lion, and I'm liking the way he plays. If that mentality could permeate through the rest of the group, that would be great.
He's been a different player since he moved to the middle, and I think he's accountable. And I think he's also somebody who is the good teammate that will stand in for another player on his line or on his on the ice at that point. I mean, but you don't want Max Domi to be your enforcer. He's not Ty. He's not his dad. He's an offensive player. He's a very gifted player, and you don't want to put him in that role. And again, that is the failure of this team's construction, that they decided, okay, we're gonna go out and get Ryan Reeves, and he's gonna be the sheriff. Well, the sheriff seems to not have bullets in his gun, because when he's out there, I go back to the comment, Norm, when they were playing Boston, that he was being interviewed on the bench, which was weird because normally they interview the coach, but for some reason they were interviewing Ryan Reeves.
Of course, they're looking for the soundbite from the dummy.
So Emily Kaplan from ESPN is interviewing Ryan Reeves, and Ryan Reeves says, "Well, what do you think?" She asked, "What do you think you're bringing to this club?" And he says, "I think I make everybody a couple inches taller." About 5 minutes after that, Brad Marchand, can openers, Liljegren, and he's out for 6 weeks, and nobody does a good goddamn.
So Reeves wasn't on the ice for that. What were you expecting him to do next shift?
Well, I mean,
because he wouldn't play it. They wouldn't. Do you think he would match Marchand up with Reeves?
Well, no, of course not. Right? And Martin, but the thing is, there was no fear. There was no accountability. There was nothing. Reeves was on the bench. Maybe he was mouthing. I don't know. All I know is that Boston was not. Marchand isn't scared of anybody. He's going to do whatever he does. He doesn't have any fear. But Reeves being the nuclear missile that the Leafs whip out when somebody is would he have done anything? Would he have prevented Dakota Joshua or whoever the player was that hit Nick Robertson from doing it? I doubt it, because nobody fears him, because he can't catch anybody.
So why couldn't anybody on the ice when that happened just jump Marchand? Just jump him.
Well, that's
like, just to say, this is bullshit. I'm not a fighter. I don't like violence. We want this to become ice capades. We want to wear leotard. We just want it just to be all about finesse and skill. But what I saw there was uncalled for and deserves some kind of retribution. Why couldn't that happen? That was just unbelievable.
Well, again, I can't wait for December 2nd, and I can't wait to see what the response is. And I would like to see, who is the guy who will get in Marchand's kit. Marchand is a shit disturber. He doesn't he doesn't care for anyone. He'll do what he's going to do, but you have to make him accountable. And I'll tell you, the guys who are making accountability on this team are Mark Giordano, who's 40 years old, and Max Domi, who's been with the Leafs for 15 games. That you need McCabe to step up. You need your maybe your core players. Maybe you need a Tavares or a Matthews.
You
don't want them to break their hands in a fight, but you do want them to be accountable.
It was okay for Wendell Clark to break every bloody knuckle he had.
Yeah, but hey, Wendell. I mean, Wendell Clark.
I'm stepping on sacrilege.
No. Wendell Clark is a 1 in a million player. Wendell Clark had the skill to win the Rocket Richard in terms of goal scoring. He scored 40. If he stayed healthy, he probably would have scored 50. And he was tougher than any. He fought Probert. He fought Tocchet. He fought anybody. And he was 5'11" and 190 pounds. Those guys don't exist anymore.
Let me just get through the comments. OG's Converts, this is what it's about, okay? Just because we don't agree with you doesn't mean you need to unsub. Just because you say stuff to us that we may not like doesn't mean we don't want you here. This is what it's about. We're just talking as Leaf fans. You can't tell me this is all kumbaya. It would never be. But I want to get to a couple of comments here, like handshake line respect. Thanks so much for being here. Handshake line has not given up on Ryan Reeves yet, and fair enough. Jason Sparks, another guy who believes that Reeves has value on this team. What I would say to that, guys, is when he gets a chance to play, go beat the shit out of somebody. Go be tough. Make the players around you skate as if they're 2 or 3 feet taller than they typically would when you're not out there. I think the what we're getting at here is he's been sold as a bill of goods that have not been delivered. And that's the thing. Forget about if he's a minus, or again, he could be a detriment when he's on the ice, and that's not a good thing. Just be tougher. I don't know. Go fight somebody. I don't know if you take a 5-minute major or fucking get kicked out of the game. Do something. And that's what I'm saying. If you think that he has a value to this organization and to be there on every single night and have a presence, fair enough. We just want to see it. We just want to see it, Mike. And Andrew, what happened to all the trade Nylander talk? Another Nylander out in full force. Well, we know he's doing well. We love him. Okay, we love him.
Just
Jesus, Murphy.
One point is, like, I don't know whether Reeves was on the ice for Noah Gregor's goal at the beginning of the year, because Noah Gregor scored the first goal of the year. But since then, so I don't know. But I believe I have the stat right. The fourth line when Reeves was out there was no goals and 10 goals against.
Right.
That's over with. The debate is over with.
Right.
If he can not be a liability and show
right. And that's exactly what I'm saying.
Right. Now with the Nylander thing, why no talk? If you've been watching the convo, I said once you got to the regular season, they weren't going to trade him because it needed to be done during the summer. They needed to trade him for defensive help. You see where the defense is right now. They didn't do it. He's having a great year. Of course he's having a great year. You knew he was going to be motivated because he can ride the TTC as much as he wants. I mean, he's going to score 100 points this year. He's going to score 40, 45 goals.
Good.
And he's going to probably walk in free agency, or they're going to overpay him and pay him $10 million.
Right. And
you cannot, I'm sorry, this team will never win a cup with this defense, with paying $45 million, would it be next year? It'll be 45. If they pay Nylander 10, they're paying Marner 11, they're paying Tavares 11, and they're paying Matthews 13. $45 million, which is over 50% of the cap. You're not going to win.
It's so personal with Nylander fans, right? Going back 6 years, they all thought he was the best player in the world, and now he is playing like it. And will it sustain? Maybe, probably not. And it's just, pontificate and high horse and, get on the pedestal and go on. Guys, he's amazing. Nobody wants him traded. Nobody wants him traded. This has nothing to do with love or hate. We figured he was the guy that could be dealt in order to bring back what the team needs more of, because you do have a lot of offensive talent. And the idea that, no, Nylander's the guy. Fuck Marner. Get rid of him. If he sucks so bad, who wants him? Right? Again, if he sucks so bad, who wants him? This way, pitting one player against another. I know this is social media stuff. I know this is what we do today. Countdowns, top tens, who's the best. At this stage of the game, we need all the best players running peaks, being a team, a complete mosaic, cohesion, and a good foundation on the blue line with goaltenders who are competent, so that this team, Nylander, Marner included, maybe Ryan Reeves included, Mike, can finally achieve something that we can all be proud of as fans, instead of kind of spinning our wheels every single year, talking about the same damn things and expecting the same damn things too. Mike, we should probably get going here, Mr. A. What are you working on at hockeybuzz.com, and how are you going to fill the time over the next week and a bit as the Leafs head to, where are they going? Stockholm?
I believe it's
where they're playing, yeah. And it's the Wings and the Wild coming up.
Right. Well, I'll definitely take a look at some of the prospects with the Leafs and how they're doing right now. We know Easton County, in your neck of the woods, is having a really good year with the London Knights. Fraser Minton was named team captain in Kamloops. So they have some, Artur Tiamov, the Russian goaltender, was doing great for Akbars Kazan. So like that's a prospect that 2 or 3 years down the road might be their goaltender. So I'll be taking a look at some of their prospects as they fly over to Sweden, and it'll be a long week, but there'll be content at hockeybuzz.com.
Like the content here, the Leafs Convo YouTube channel is thriving. We appreciate it. We're just a small community, but we keep on taking the odd licking, but it is what it is. OakRidgeFord.com is where you're going to find your next vehicle, whether it's a finance, whether it's a lease. I'm the guy. You'd be doing yourself a major disservice if you didn't run your car buying idea through me. Like, I'm here, you know me. Why wouldn't you? Hundreds of people do it every single year, over 1,000 since I've been in the business. Why wouldn't you? At Norman Oak Ridge Ford on Instagram. I'd like to see a few more follows there, and I will certainly follow you back. In the meantime, Mike and I will plan for another collab this coming week, because the more content, the merrier. We do appreciate the lively discussion in the chat. It's awesome because, for every player who is, pro Reeves, or sorry, every OG or convert who's pro Reeves, there are others who aren't. For those who William Nylander elected president of the world and Mitch Marner drawn and quartered, there are others who don't believe Marner is as bad as everybody thinks he is, and that William Nylander is going to ask for too much and the Leafs can't afford him. That's the good thing about this project and what we're trying to do here, is just get all kinds of different ideas. People who have differences of opinion, but we can discuss this kind of stuff and not hate on each other, because I do believe at the end of the day, and OG's converts, you can either corroborate this or you can contradict this. We all want the Maple Leafs to win, right? Would you not forego, some of your devotion to a player in order to have back a team that you've been supporting for so long win a championship? Because really, that's what it's all about. And it's how do we get there? The trials and tribulations, the disagreements, the arguments, the ups and downs, it's all part of the process. And when it comes to this project, going back to 2018, we collectively have not been able to support a team or view a team or witness a team that we love so much reach the zenith and the top of the mountain. So maybe that's kind of our project together collectively to kind of get there as one group in the end. Mr. A, it's a beautiful day here in Southern Ontario. I hope it's the same way in Western New York. And I don't know, we'll do something, I think, midweek, okay?
Sounds good.
OG's Conference, have a great day. Thanks for being here.